Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. If you are new here, welcome. It's so amazing having you as a new listener, and I hope you stay. To all my regular listeners, I am back. Yes, I know you've missed me. We are back. Had a slight hiatus of like March, but we are back in full swing now. A reminder that you can stay up to date with all the new episodes by hitting the subscribe button or follow button on Spotify and your Apple podcast or wherever else you listen to your podcast. Remember to follow this podcast on various social medias, on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter at The Root of the Sci Pod. We are available on LinkedIn and Facebook at The Root of the Science Podcast. Make sure that you share and like. A reminder that if you'd like to collaborate on an episode or do something really cool, make sure that you send me an email, or you'd like us to work together, please do send me an email. And most importantly, if you're listening to this and you're like, so-and-so needs to be on this podcast, or you yourself need to be on this podcast, please send me an email or even DM me on my various social media platforms, and I'll try my best to get back to you so we can have you on the show. Remember, the goal and the vision is simple: to amplify African voices in science, technology, and share it to the world. So let's do that. Also, to support the show, please click on the support the show link. Any amount will go a long way, and honestly, I really appreciate it. Now let's get into today's episode. My guest today is Dr. Alice Mbewe from Malawi. Dr. Alice is a translational science champion. If you don't know what this is, it means that she's bridging the gap between discovery science and impactful healthcare at the organization where she works. Tune in as she also shares the roots of her science, her academic journey, and tells us more about the faith-based side project that she has called Fill My Cup on Instagram. Tune in to hear about all of this and, of course, so much more. Let's go. Hi, Dr. Alice. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here.
I'm so excited. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad that we've got this down and done. So for the purpose of everybody getting to know you, can you just tell us briefly, who is Alice,
Yes.
where you from, where you're currently based, and just in short, what do you do?
Wow. Okay. So my name is Alice T. Mbewe. So that's Alice Talita Mbewe. I am from Malawi. I grew up in England, and I'm currently based in Malawi at the moment. And I work as a translation science champion at the Malawi Liverpool Wellcome Research Program in Blantyre. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, fantastic. We're going to get into, obviously, what you do a little bit later in the show.
Yes.
But I wanted to chat to you. You said to me that you're a mom and a sister and obviously a daughter to someone as well. I wanted to ask, away from the sciences, right? Because you are a scientist and all these other roles as an individual, how do these roles, do you think, make you more of like a holistic person to be a better version of yourself in the other areas of your life?
Oh, yes, definitely. So I'm a mum to a 9-year-old son. He'll be 10 soon. His name is Josiah. And I'm a sister to 6 siblings. Well, 5 now.
Wow.
We lost one in 2021, but we're still 6 siblings, yes. And I think it makes a huge difference because, these are key people in my life that have such a huge impact. When I think about my son, for example, when I'm going to work, even if I'm tired or even if I'm a bit stressed out, just by me thinking about him helps me to be consistent. Yeah, so I really think that the key people that we have in our lives, not just only for me, but for everybody else, they really have a huge impact on how we do things, on how we think, and just the drive that we have. We become people that are more inspired, we become people that are more consistent, we become people that are more driven, just simply because we are living a holistic life, and life is not just for ourselves, and no man is an island. So for me, the people that you have mentioned that are key to me, my siblings, my mom, my son, they all have a huge impact in how I live life, whether it's at work, whether it's outside of work.
No, that honestly makes sense. And, we are because of who we are around us. And it's exactly what you said, that, we are inspired by these people, we motivated. And also, I think they also ground you, because sometimes, sometimes in one specific area, they can be like, Dr. Alice. And at home, you're like, hey, listen, Mom.
Exactly. And for example, I think it was just on Thursday, a friend of mine, well, she's like a distant relative friend, family, one of those African settings where she's a friend but family. And she had invited me to her church, and so for Easter, so I went. So she's always just known me as Alice. So somebody came up to her and said, "Is that Dr. Alice?" And so she looked at me and thought, "What? Who are you talking about? This is just Alice." So we are kind of like, we're the same person, but then also fulfill different roles in the different spaces that we go into, which is very interesting.
Yeah, no, that's honestly so true. And I think especially, like you said, that people who've known you for a long time, or a family, it's like, oh my goodness, what, you're that big, like you're really that big.
Exactly. She was so surprised.
Speaking of people and people who have known you for a long time, before you were Dr. Alice, before you were a mom, let's take it back to the very beginning, right? Did you always know that, getting into the field of science is always something that you want to do, or were there other influences that kind of influenced your journey into the science field?
I would say yes and no. I would say I've always had an interest in science. Well, initially, I actually wanted to be a medical doctor. I remember when I was about 6 or 7 years old, I had an operation for my appendix. I had appendicitis. And ever since then, I was like, I want to help people in the same way that this doctor has helped other people. So I went on this journey of just being very interested in the human body. And I remember if my mum would be cutting up chicken, I'd be very interested in like the liver and seeing what's inside it and what's happening. And then over the years, I just developed this love for science. And I was still trying to pursue the medical route, but at the same time, I just became interested in just the science side of it, in particular immunology, actually. But having said that, I also really, really loved talking. I loved listening to people. So as much as I wanted to take the medical route, when I was doing my A-levels, I was like, I really love psychology. I'm very interested in the mind and want to know what is happening in the mind, and thought, maybe one day I could actually be a psychologist, just thinking out loud to myself. But at the time, my dad wasn't very keen on the whole psychology thing, because back then therapists were not very common, and it wasn't a lucrative career, especially here in Africa. So he was thinking, okay, you're here in England at the moment, but eventually you'll go back to Malawi. There's no such thing as therapists. So I kind of gave up on the therapy side of things, and then just carried on pursuing the medical research, and then just ended up being a scientist, which is what I am now.
Oh, fantastic. It's pretty interesting that it took that one time when you had a doctor who obviously had such a huge impact on you to kind of birth that that love for you being a scientist. You said that you're born in Malawi, grew up in England. So where did you do your actual studies in terms of the medical research? You said you were interested in immunology, not necessarily doctor route. So what exactly did you study, and where did you study? Did you study in the UK?
Yes, I did. So I did all my schooling, well, majority of my schooling in the UK, from primary all the way through to university. So my first degree is in biomedical sciences from Liverpool John Moores University, and then my master's is in immunology of infectious diseases from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and then I also have a PhD in viral immunology from the University of Oxford. So that's my trail of being a scientist.
Fantastic. And I mean, such a brilliant academics you have there, from the various institutions. So how was that transition? You studied in the UK, then you came back to work in Africa, or Malawi to be specific. Was there a huge culture shock for you, if any?
Not really, not at all, actually, because what my parents did very well, amongst other things, is they kept us very culturally grounded. So every holiday, every 6-week holiday during the summer holidays in England, whilst the other kids were going elsewhere, we were coming back home. We were coming to Malawi pretty much every year. And we did that consistently. Maybe I missed, out of the 30 years, I probably missed about 5 years. So, so every year we would come home, we would go to the village, we would eat all the food that we, that people eat locally. We would go to the market. So it wasn't a cultural shock for me at all. And in 2005, 2007, I was working here as well. I was working at Johns Hopkins University project. So they have a project here in Malawi. So a research program rather. So I was working here for those 2 years. So I think also that really helped me to integrate into the society and to learn a bit more about what the culture actually means, rather than just being here for the 6 weeks or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So that really helped a lot. I remember when I first came in 2005 at Johns Hopkins, people were laughing at how I spoke in Chichewa. So that really got me annoyed. I made it a point to make sure that I'm going to learn how to speak like a local Malawian. So I'd go to church, the Chichewa service. I would read the Chichewa section in the newspapers. I'd listen to Chichewa music. And now when I speak Chichewa, people don't believe that it's me.
Really? Oh my goodness! Now I'm
yeah.
So you've lost. So you're able to, what do they call it? Code switch perfectly.
100%. So it's interesting. People say that when I speak English, it's as if I've never lived in Malawi, and when I speak Chichewa, it's as if I've never lived outside of Malawi.
Oh, fantastic! Oh my goodness, that's really great.
And I'm glad that, I'm able to do that. I'm glad that I'm able to also pass that on to my son. When I'm with him, he can't speak Chichewa fully, but at least he understands some words, and he eats nsima, and dives into all the local things that we do here when he's in Malawi.
Oh, amazing. I'm laughing that your code switch is good. Mine is still very like, no.
Oh, really?
We can tell. Yeah. Maybe I also just need to go and sit, because I go holiday, so I don't stay in Malawi for long periods of time. So maybe once I go back and I stay, my code switching will be just as good as yours.
And even the holidays, you can utilize the holidays, go to the markets, speak to go to the villages, and that's how you dig in, and there's no returning after that.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. Okay, so you said you are now in Malawi, you are working, and you're a transitional scientist at the Malawi Liverpool Trust. Can you tell us
Yes.
what that is? Actually, I don't know what a translational scientist is. So can you give us an overview what that is, and then also touching on to the other work that you do?
Yeah, sure. So there is an actual career called a translational scientist. So now people actually do an entire master's or even a PhD in just becoming a translational scientist. So what I am is I run a department for translational science. I lead that unit. So what that means is, in the best way I can explain it is in the normal academic setting, the main measurement of success is publishing papers, whether we're publishing in Nature, in Science, whatever it is, we want to publish. The more papers we publish, the more we align that to this is what success looks like in our institution, or this is what success looks like in that specific research topic. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that we're not just applying for grants, doing the research, publishing, and then applying for more grants, doing the research, and then publishing again. And then it's a continuous cycle, which there's nothing wrong with it. But what we really wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that the actual science or research we're doing is being translated into having a health impact. So we look at the whole spectrum from beginning, which is the discovery science side, all the way through to implementation. And then we try to help researchers understand what that process looks like, and also what steps they need to take or what steps they need to consider, even when they are doing their basic research or when they're doing their discovery research. Like, what is it that they can do to move along the steps to translate this information that they have just discovered? What does it mean for the end user, which is the human being? What does it mean for the person who is going through these health issues? What does that look like? So the normal terminology is from bench to bedside. A great example, an easy example for us to understand is we have a HIV self-testing kits. That was done in the lab, and then the end user is obviously the person who would be actually using that testing kit. So with translational science, it has two main arms. You have the non-commercial side, which is things like policy, trials of improved practice, changing guidelines. And then you also have the commercial side, so which is the example I've just given, like the HIV self-testing kit, which can actually go into commercialization. So companies like GSK, they are very, very good at GlaxoSmithKline. They're very, very good at the translation, because then they're doing drug discovery. They do that in the lab, and then the end user is implemented. So it goes through the entire process from discovery all the way through to preclinical, clinical stages, and then all the way through into being used into the public health system. And there's the end user, which is it being used by the patient. And obviously they're selling these medications in the pharmacies or in the hospitals or even in different countries. So that's what the whole spectrum of translational science looks like. And we have seen a huge change once we introduced this unit at Malawi Liver Welcome Research Program. We have really seen a huge change in just how the researchers are thinking, because it was more to do with the cultural shift. And we wanted to make sure that people are not just thinking about publishing, but they're thinking about impact.
Yeah.
That what is the impact that you're going to have from your research?
Oh, this is amazing. It's amazing because this is also something that I've also been keenly interested. And I don't know then in terms of but I suppose this is, like you said, it's more like in the health side. But does this not also link with the field of science communication? Because also is that instead of just publishing, but also just like how you effectively communicate your work to the people, be it policy or the people or the end user as well?
Yes, partly. I mean, we do have a science communication department where I work. So we do some work with them, especially on public engagement, for them to allow them to understand that what is actual translational science. So we record videos of the researchers doing this work, or explaining some of this work, so that the public are able to understand it. So although it doesn't really go so much into the communication side, but it is part of it. But the main thing is, what we want to do is we want to make sure that your research is having impact.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is honestly why we do science at the end of the day, not to just publish. It's because of this new culture shift, which you also already mentioned, that that success is only equated to the impact factors, or the number of publications, etc., not necessarily the impact that you are actually trying to do.
Exactly. And if we think about the history of science, so all those people that discovered certain things, they were discovering them because they wanted to solve a problem, and they wanted to have some level of impact. It was never about, oh, let me solve this problem so that I can publish. It was always, let me solve this problem so that I can help. Whether it was smallpox, whether it was whatever it was, it was always, let me solve this problem. Let me try and solve this problem so that people can be helped.
Yeah. No, I think, honestly, I hope more institutions need to implement that branch in their organizations, especially like research, because I think sometimes the lines are getting very blurred, where it's only just there's a huge focus only on the publication side. And I'm sure other scientists who are probably listening to this are like, Alice, come to my institution and teach and tell them and tell them that there's more to life than publishing or perishing.
Yes, exactly. And Wellcome Trust, so now they're just called Wellcome. They removed the trust word, but the Wellcome, but I'll just say Wellcome Trust because that's what majority of people are familiar with. They have done a fantastic job in sort of pushing this agenda. So even our department, our unit is actually funded by them, and they are, I believe about 25 other institutions that have got the same award as us, or the same grant as us, which is prioritizing this translational science agenda. And whether it's I think there's some in Thailand, in lots in England, like Oxford, Birmingham, London School of Tropical Medicine, Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. There's so many other institutions that have received this award, so that we make sure that the science we are doing is relevant and it has impact. Yes.
Which is absolutely brilliant. Kudos to you and your whole unit. And I hope more and more institutions develop this work, because I'm a firm believer on the impact on why we're doing science, and not just for the science to sit in a journal or to sit in a lab somewhere, but how is it affecting the people? And speaking of how things affect people, I think now that I actually just had an epiphany that you said you wanted to be a doctor to help people, and the way that you were helped, and maybe you are not necessarily a doctor, but you are doing that in the work that you're doing at Wellcome. And also on the side, actually, you also have, you currently run a faith-based personal development platform called Filma Cup for dynamic female leaders, running after their God-given vision. And honestly, this is how I met you, because a mutual friend of ours, Mara, posted about your events, and I was like, oh my goodness, who's this woman? This looks absolutely brilliant. And the rest is history, and that's why we're here. So can you tell the audience what the Filma Cup was all about, and why you actually started it when you did?
Okay, so maybe I will start with why I started it. So in
Yes.
2015, between 2015 and 2017, I went through a season of very intense depression. And it was through that season that I felt that beyond me be feeling the way I was feeling and just having sort of like mental health issues or just struggling with my mental health, I should say, I also discovered this whole new world of personal development, but faith based, which I had never known before. And that is what kept me going.
Mm.
And that's what even took me out of that season. And during that season, I had a vision, I should say. God gave me a vision. And I saw myself speaking to several women, inspiring them and empowering them through the word, but also building them up. So personal development. And I had, to be honest with you, I had kind of forgotten about it after some years. And it was only in 2021, yes, coming towards 2021
Mm-hmm.
or entering to end of 2021, that I remember that, oh my goodness, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm very passionate about it. So, what had happened all throughout those years, which I didn't realize was God preparing me for what is now Fill My Cup, was that I was coaching women. There were several women that would just grab my attention, whether it was through social media or through a friend. And I would coach them through several different things, whether it was academics, whether it was life issues, whether it was marriage, whatever it was. I just found myself continuously being in a space where I am using the experiences that I had in my past to help somebody. And so one day I was listening to, I really wish I could remember whether it was a podcast or a sermon, or I was listening to something. And the person said, "Fill my cup." And right away, I knew that that is exactly what I need to call this platform. So by that time, I had already decide or had already kind of come to me that, oh, now is the right time to take this on and actually help other women and create a platform. So that's how it started. We started off by just having 12 women, and we share on vision. We want people to really understand, to create a vision for themselves and to know, or at least to be inspired into discovering their purpose. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is to know that they're a leader in their own right. So we also teach leadership skills. One of the things we say is that leadership is action and not position. You know, there's so many, we need to demystify this thing of that if you are a leader, then you are in an actual position of leadership. Because then what does that mean for all the other people? Are they not leaders too? Are they also not, you know, you can think about a woman who is at home running a business, looking after 4 kids. Is she not a leader? Surely she is. She may not be working and she totally is, exactly. She may not be working in a position of conventional leadership like a manager or some kind of a boss, but she's certainly a leader. And that's what we wanted to do. We want to make sure that women are embracing this idea of the fact that they are a leader in their own right. So we teach about self-leadership, and then we just introduce people to the different terminologies or the different leadership styles, I should say. So we have been running events since 2022. I think we have run about 7 events so far. We do both private and public events. So the private ones will just be me inviting specific people from anything from very small numbers to larger numbers. And this February, for the first time, we also introduced Fill My Cup Young Ladies. So before that, it was always from the age of 25 going upwards. But now we introduced up young ladies between the ages of 17 to 24. And we had about 65 young women, which is amazing, you know, and we're really excited to kind of see where that goes and how that grows. And now the men are also asking, what about us men? So we're also considering how we're going to do that. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it with Fill My Cup.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I love that, in your pain or you found purpose from your depression and whatnot. It was purposeful and intentful. And you are obviously helping so many women, be the person who they are. And so how often do you host these events? I know you said that you had a recent one with the young people and maybe potentially with the men as well. So how often do you host these events?
Well, because I still work full time.
There's that.
Yes, there's that. There is that. Because I work full time, it's a little bit tricky to have, and then also just because of life dynamics, we've tried to put a calendar in place, especially for 2023. But then life happened. The cyclone happened just a few weeks ago, which is the week that we're supposed to have another event. And we had to shift it to April. And then other times it's maybe I have work engagements. So at the moment, our calendar is set, but not concrete per se, because it has to go along with just my availability and availability of the other members of the team as well. So this year we have had 2 events. We had one in England and we had one here in Malawi. We're having our 3rd one next month. So that will be a private exclusive retreat with just 10 to 12 women maximum. And that's in May. So the one after that will most probably, it's scheduled for July. And then the one after that is scheduled for October. And then we'll have a final one in December.
Oh, wow. No, so you do. They are quite often. Oh my God, please give yourself credit. That's a lot of work, even as you're working and as you have life. Like,
yes,
that is a lot of events in a year. No, kudos to you. I wish you all of the best, and I hope you impact
Thank you so much.
So many people. As we close off, I wanted to ask if you have any words of wisdom for anybody who's listening, be it about life in general or just about your experience as being a scientist.
Okay, maybe I'll start off with the words of wisdom. I think I will do people that are listening a great injustice if I don't share anything about purpose, which is something I'm very, very passionate about.
Please.
So I read a lot of the late Dr. Mars Monroe books and listen to a lot of his teachings. And one of the things that he always used to say is that if you don't understand the purpose of a thing, abuse is inevitable. So I always give an example of a pen. If you are using a pen to clean the floor, you're going to abuse the pen and it will break at some point, or whatever it is. If you're not using something in the rightful way of what it was intended for, abuse is always inevitable. And it's the same thing with our own lives. Many people don't actually know what their purpose is or don't even have a vision for their lives. And therefore, abuse is inevitable. And abuse, we're not talking about saying you'll be sort of like abusing yourself in that kind of way, but you would now be living a life that was not intended for you. And one of the things that I really want for people to understand, or at least walk away with, is this idea that you are here for a purpose. We're only here for a season. We're not going to be in this world forever. Nobody's going to be in this world forever. Even me, we're here for a season, and it is for a purpose. It is for a reason. So I would urge you to begin to discover what that looks like. What is your purpose? What vision is it that you can create? Sit down, look at the Bible, start reading, start praying, start spending time with God and writing things down. In Habakkuk 2:2, it says, write the vision and make it plain. And it's as simple as that. Write the vision and make it plain. The moment you start writing, you start seeing that things are coming out like, I didn't even know this was inside of me. I didn't even know that I was created for more than what I am doing right now. So that's one thing that I would share about purpose. And me as a scientist, I would say it's really been a journey of being patient to get into where I am now in my career. And I still see myself as a very early career researcher. So there's the whole load of steps that I need to get through, and which I'm excited about. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to whatever transition I will go through in the years to come. I'm looking forward to the things I will learn, and we can never stop learning, whether it's me doing another course or learning from other people. We never, ever stop learning, especially as researchers. We can never stop learning. So those are my final words.
Wow, amazing. Definitely. I am inspired by everything that you said, and I hope somebody who is also listening is also inspired by the words that you shared, your story, and hopefully they get motivated or inspired again to in their own areas of their life. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with me.
Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure. It's been such a pleasure. And to everybody else who's listening, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl and with an E. Until next time, goodbye.